Kardec Radio Facebook page and Kardec Radio app. You are listening to me live streaming and also live on the Kardec Radio app on your Android or Apple phones. Welcome. I am Brian Foster. We are talking tonight about another aspect of Spiritism. Tonight we're talking about what was in my book, The Problem is the Solution, 7 Life Complications Sent to Test and Teach You. And tonight we're talking about stress, carryover from past lives. Now, maybe the stress isn't there, but the stress of going through trials and tribulations of wrongful actions, or maybe even new things we must learn, all carried over from past lives and also educational for our future. So that is what we're talking about tonight. First, we are bringing what is Spiritism? Spiritism is brought to you by the great codifier of Spiritism, Allan Kardec, and that's in the Spirits book right here. I have that beside me. Allan Kardec's Spirit book was just a revelation to me. It was one of the most important things I've ever read. It was the most important thing I ever read in my life. The Bible is important to me, but I didn't believe it was that important when I read it, in my teens and 20s. I kind of skipped it and didn't really understand many of the things, probably because I wasn't open to it. But then I read Allan Kardec's Spirits book. And then from there, I read the Gospel According to Spiritism, which I started understanding all the allegories and, all the parables. And it opened up. And then from that, I read the Bible and opened up the Bible and made much more meaning to me. So it was, especially the New Testament. So it was very, so I think the Spirits book really started me on my spiritual path. I never was much of a spiritual person before, just thought that was more of a sideline or something interesting to think about. But now I know how vital it is for each one of us. That's why we're on earth. That's what the spirits say, is that all the religions on earth are there to open a path. So you are ready to go into the spirit realm when you're done here on the physical universe. That's what we're here for. The physical universe is a subset of the spiritual universe. So Allan Kardec, get back to him. You can get his books on PDF. You can also find a story on his life, which was just excellent, on Netflix, the movie called Kardec. So please, every one of you, tell your friends, go see it on Netflix. It was a wonderful movie. It's has English subtitles, or it's dubbed in English. It's wonderful. It's set mostly in Paris, where Allan Kardec lived. And it really shows how someone who was very suspicious, didn't believe in the spirit world, things open up, information was given to him, like, how can they know that? His was more dramatic. To me and probably other people here listening, it was less dramatic, but still it got us thinking, right? The spirit world does that. They give us little hints, little signs and signals that, most of us miss, I'm sure, because our minds are closed. We're preoccupied with our culture. And of course, we're busy making money, busy living, right? All these things. But then sometimes you just got to stop and open up. And that's what Allan Kardec did. So I'd recommend everyone, please go see that movie. It was just wonderful. Now, tonight, what are we talking about? Talking about stress. And this is in my book, The Problem is the Solution, 7 Life Complications Sent to Test and Teach You. Now, you can get that book on my site, nwspiritism.com. It's on the right-hand side. Or you can scroll down. If I will put this on YouTube and BitChute, and you can scroll down and you'll see links to my books on the description under the video. Please subscribe to YouTube and BitChute, whatever one you would like. Tell your friends and share it. Comment. I've had a lot of great comments lately. So let's get started. Stress. It's very interesting. A lot happens. So stress. What will we do without it, right? We live it all the time. We know we need something to push us forward, to excel, to complete what we have promised to finish. Unfortunately, we build up stress over a myriad of unimportant issues. We stress over a lack of money, possible loss of our job, not having as much as our neighbor or close friend. We let too much get inside our head. And once inside, our nervousness infects our emotional stability. And of course, that is very important because the more you are stressed, your perispirit covers your body like a diving suit. But it's not just that, it permeates your whole body and it connects to every cell in your body. And it helps actually balance and run your body. It's not just your brain, your perispirit's also there. And when you are stressed, when you have done things wrong, when you have violated your conscience, it doesn't control your body as well as it should. And scientific, at least on our modern culture have said, the more people are stressed, the more likely you are to have illnesses. And in fact, they've done studies that the more spiritual you are, the more healthier you are, and the longer you live. That is directly related to if we keep our perispirit in good shape, we keep stress out of our body by not violating our conscience, which I've said so many times on this channel, my site, everywhere. You will be a much happier person. You may be not have as many toys and have as much money in the bank, but you'll be a much healthier, happier person. And much more importantly, you'll be ready to go to the spirit world when your time comes. Okay. So if we're stressed with our feelings in tatters, our entire system, as I said, starts to unravel and we land in an unbalanced state. Now, the lesson of our past lives and what we learned during our time in the spirit realm should create a seawall against the tides of worry which periodically sweeps over us. We should have, but many don't, myself for many years included, realize by now that our time on earth is a series of pre-planned events. Now, I want you to think about that. When I was growing up and I saw people, oh yes, your destiny. I thought, well, those people don't know anything. Well, it was me that didn't know anything, right? I was the one that was stupid. Your life is a series of pre-planned events. That's probably one of the most important things to get into your mind. And all of these events, well, not all, probably a majority of these events are meant to extirpate our past wrongs and expose us to new situations, right? A subset, or as we become perfect spirits, we need to learn new things in different areas, different economic conditions, different jobs. We need that training in order to have the power of a high spirit and know what to do with that power. But as on a planet of atonement right now, we are just mostly we are learning to extirpate our old wrongdoings, right? Our wrongs. Now, therefore, really, there's no reason to be stressed since what will happen, and it's for our own good. Now, what I just said is easy to say, but it's difficult to put in practice for a couple of reasons. One is if you believe that, you can't let yourself say, okay, I'm just going to sit here on my lounge chair and let the world come at me and whatever. No, it doesn't work that way at all. You still have to be aggressive. You still have to be intellectually motivated. You still have to work. You still have to survive, sometimes by the skin of your teeth, but no, you still have to move forward. But the difference is when something happens terribly, you keep striving, you keep working, but you try to maintain a good attitude. You try to tell yourself, what am I supposed to learn from this? Because when you can really, as Leon Denis said, if you really look at your life, you can kind of tell what you've done in your previous lives. You can start figuring out what the spirit world had in mind for you, what you're supposed to learn. And if you can do that, boy, you are just ready to zoom up. It's like Geraldo Dutra Diaz says, when people become spiritually aware, it's not like a line that's just an upward slope. No, it's like you go like this, right? You're just kind of parking at an area. Spiritualists call it parking. And then once you finally understand what you're here on earth for, then you really start to spiritually mature. And then you start to rise in the spirit, in heaven, right? Heaven is just not one place. It's multiple levels. As you go higher and higher, have more attributes, you have more power, you have more responsibility. You can help more people. You do what you want to do, right? Because you still have free will all the time. So now, to start feeling good about this stuff, first you need to be spiritually aware that we are loved and we only travel through the trials assigned to us to make us perfect, right? No matter how bad the circumstances, something will come up to redeem the situation. Believe me, I've seen it in my life, and I'm sure most people have seen it in their lives. In the book, Memoirs of a Suicide, instructors whose job was to review the life of the suicide so they would know what they did wasn't necessary, revealed what would have occurred if the person just toughed it out. Help was always around the corner. If they could only have hanged on for more time, the arc of their life would have improved. One of the most tragic scenes I ever seen was when I was walking down the Huacate in Rio de Janeiro, and I saw a body covered in a blanket, and several people were waiting for the ambulance to arrive. And one could tell the body was a woman, a young woman, by the shape and appearance of her legs that weren't concealed. She had jumped out of an apartment window more than 5 floors up. I could visualize the poor lost soul waking up in her spirit body, finding out that she had solved nothing and ended nothing. She had just created larger problems for herself. For now, she'd have to stay in the lower zone, mixing with all sorts of undesirable spirits until the date when she was originally scheduled to die. Such is the result of attempting to leave our class early. What could have driven? I was sit there on the sidewalk and I said, what could have driven her to perform that horrible deed? Tell your friends never think about suicide. You're immortal. All it's going to do is put you back on your spiritual ascendancy. You're here to learn. If you don't want to learn the lesson, you're going to get it again and again. So one could surmise this young woman from a middle-class neighborhood, most probably it was over a man who wasn't worth it. Her true love could have shown up any moment. If she had faith that God and Jesus loved her and the failed relationship was introduced to enable her to learn an important object lesson, right? After that session, the bell would ring. She would go on to the next class. And lo and behold, that could have been her intended mate, her soulmate, a love that may have been planned by the both of them in the spirit world before either incarnated on earth. And I know it's not easy because you always want things to happen quickly. My wife was told when she was like, I think it was like 17, maybe earlier, that she was going to meet and marry someone, right? And do pretty well for herself. And of course, at 17, you think that's going to happen any moment. Well, we didn't meet, and she didn't get married till she met me, till she was 32. So of course, after a couple of years went by, she just thought, well, that's a bunch of baloney. That nothing's happened. And of course, then once we met, then everything she was told starting to unfold. It was like she had to wait, 15 years before the things she was told starting to happen. So also, if anybody's out there been told by a medium that you trust that this and this is going to happen, don't think it's going to happen fast, right? The spirit world has its own time frame. Their time, as they told me in a message they gave my wife and I, they said, well, our time is our time and your time is your time, which I'm paraphrasing, which is, yes, you cannot think, and I feel sorry sometimes. I hear these guys who are actually very good on their prophetic sayings and their dreams or what they think is going to happen. And I heard one of them say, well, you never know exactly what's going to happen. People call me and say, well, that hasn't happened yet. And the guy's absolutely right? You don't know what's going to happen. And however you interpret it, I swear, at least my wife and I says, we're wrong almost all the time. It does happen, but not the way we think it should. Not the way in our minds we thought, okay, they said this is going to happen, and I think this will, but no, it never works out. It's always something more complicated than that. It's always more indirect than our poor minds can figure out. So just words of wisdom there, believe me or not, that's fine. Now, what's important about getting less stress? Well, let The main thing I want to talk about now is let events be what they are. It's you who is important, right? Whatever we believe about the options that are presented to us in trying circumstances, we need to consider that we really have no clue and that a higher power has everything worked out. The serial episodes of our life have been determined. What isn't determined is our reactions and attitudes throughout the events. Stress doesn't add anything positive. It only causes you to react poorly to unforeseen happenings and also causes you to lose your temper, snap at people. It's not good. Now, am I perfect? No, I still do that sometimes. Have to catch myself, but I'm training myself to become better. That's all we can do. So, we are told in the book, Spiritual Wisdoms, Missives of Hope, in a passage by the Spirit Albino Texera, exactly why we are on earth and how we are judged. This is important. Now, this is what he said. What makes you stand out the most on earth for the purposes of spiritual promotion towards a superior life is not much. Having been reborn in a mutilated or ill body, bearing serious psychological conflicts, residing in a difficult household, becoming agitated because of tiresome relatives, enduring frustrations and setbacks, experiencing public sarcasm, tolerating humiliation and injuries, standing insults or unbecoming accusations, experiencing abandonment from collaborators and friends, fighting incessantly against one's own inferior inclinations, finding yourself under constant obsession of facing obstacles and disillusion. What singles you out most efficiently in the physical plane and before the higher life for your improvement and perfection toward the greater spirituality is your ability to undergo similar trials as those listed above, whilst carrying on your work and service on behalf of others for the prosperity of eternal goodness. Now, I'm not sure about others who are listening to this program, but I have lived through the great majority of what was listed. And I bet most of the population of Earth has too. In essence, suffering unreasonable expectations and demands from our fellow beings is just the normal gauntlet we have to run through. Expecting reasonable and caring attitudes sets us up for disappointment. We should, in turn, profusely thank and appreciate those who do treat us as we would like to be treated. Remember the golden rule. Spiritism says, if you can learn anything, follow the golden rule. So therefore, when people do follow the golden rule and treat us correct, right, we see in them the attributes of a higher spirit. And that's what we should look to them, not someone who has more money, more power. We should look to those people who do follow the golden rule, who are nice in every circumstances. Those are the people who shine bright on the top of the hill. Those are the unsung heroes of the earth. Now, what was written in the New Testament, Matthew chapter 6, verses 25 to 27, pertains to us today as much as not more than the first people who heard Jesus utter these words. Therefore, I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds in the air. They neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to a span of life? Now, that Matthew chapter 6, verse 25, 27, it meant something to me. It means, I'm sure, to a lot of people. But then when you understand Spiritism and you understand that our life has all been planned out and that we are these precious little cargo like kids you set off to school and that everything they do for us is for our edification, doesn't what Jesus said is just that much more fantastic when he says, well, look at the birds, right? And and Spiritism, we know the birds were given instinct to survive. They're not watched every step of the way. It's okay, we'll give that instinct and that will just be A very primitive spirit with instinct, not that much intelligence. There's always different levels of intelligence, and but they'll be okay. But us, right? We have free will. We have the only animal who is allowed free will. Other ones have very little, maybe some. Depends on the level of the animal. But we are the true free will and intelligence, right? Other animals have intelligence, but then when he says, "Are you not of more value than they? And which of you, by being anxious, can add a single hour to a span of life?" Very true, right? And the unsaid thing is, you can't add a single hour to your span of life because it's all predetermined. And when your life ends, we know when it's going to end, and we'll be there ready for you. So Jesus said, "Let the dead bury the dead." I never understood that till I read about and understood Spiritism. Of course, you read the books by Andre Luis. Most of his books are about him helping people, not most, but many parts of his books, him helping people pass over. That's why his books are wonderful, because they go through in all these little aspects of the spirit world, of how they do, how they help, everything. So the other thing that was not said is, don't be anxious, because your life's itinerary has already been written. You will eat when the time comes. You will dress yourself according to the state of wealth or poverty that has been decided to you, and tomorrow's event will take place no matter what your fears are. We know deep inside our conscience. We know this. We understand we are on a spiritual quest, no matter what our rational brain tells us. Now, reinforced by modern culture, where any belief in a power greater than what we can see with our own two eyes and doesn't get exposure on the internet is ridiculed, right? If you are afraid of revealing that side of you, well, then don't. But internally, feel that you have lived before. Whatever you have lived through in previous lives is now helping you by your instinct and ever more refined conscience, giving you the power to remain stoic and composed during a tempest. Filter out those sarcastic comments and have belief in your mission on earth. You are here to become better, and to become enhanced takes effort. The Spirit Emmanuel tells us in the book, again, Spiritual Wisdom, Missive of Hope, how we should take the forces that oppose us day to day. And we all know that, right? There's always something coming against us. None of our plans ever work smoothly, at least mine. This is what he said. Observe the extension of human suffering and make your speech into an instrument of relief and peace. You will find infirm individuals of the soul around you appearing from every place, some with psychological maladjustments from other existences, presenting obscure traumas in the mental field. Others who could not fulfill their commitments and who now wander in this world in self-loathing. Desperate others who walk the fine line between delinquency and a productive life. And the afflicted ones, almost all of them tied to processes of anguish. They are all infirm individuals of the soul who must be medicated first and foremost with a curative dialogue. At home, have compassion with your relatives and try to radiate the light of understanding that might establish tranquility and safety. In the workplace, as much as possible, transform yourself in a cleanser of bitter confidences, substituting goodness for incomprehension and blessing for acrimony. In public manifestations, select concepts that promote ideas and opinions so you may not stimulate violence or discord. Boy, I wish everyone would listen to that. And in public places, mobilize solidarity and kindness, decreasing the tiredness and loneliness felt by the companions of your conflicts and trials that you may perhaps ignore. Do not carry your speech by fulminating vibration when surprised by the intemperance of others. Otherwise, besides not curing the infirm, you'll become even sicker yourself, especially under circumstances when facing particular adversaries or supposed aggressors. Place yourself in the other person's situation and imagine how your reaction would be if someone spoke to you with bitterness and a lack of consideration. The denser the clouds in the environment, the deeper the mental imbalances around us. The more dissonance embraces us, the more it is necessary for us to elicit a curative dialogue, capable of suppressing infirmities and obsessions at their incipience. Regardless of the circumstances you find, blend your words with kindness and understanding. We all know that sufferings, tears, and fires of descent and tribulations are all abundant on earth. The Lord, however, does not expect from us any miraculous formulae that will immediately extinguish the fires of agitation. However, wherever we are and with whomever we are, He asks us to provide a glass of cold water. So, we are being told that stress doesn't come at us from external factors. We allow external factors, to cause stress. It is our reaction that throws us off balance and causes negative emotions. Whereas an understanding of our fellow travelers and the complex feelings they carry within themselves supplies the necessary vantage point to look upon the actions of others with compassion. When we exhibit caring and kindness, we dampen our negativity and exhibit a positive glow that is noticed, consciously or subconsciously, by those around us. We become an example to follow, and this is one of the reasons we are put here, to assist our circle of acquaintances to acquire beneficial habits. Hence, to reduce our stress, we don't need to fix a particular situation or change the attitude of a person. We need to change ourselves by altering our outlook. The complete dynamic of events affecting our emotions reverses, becomes one where our heart controls the effect of the events. Now, I have a question here from for people who would like to know, and one person asked about a Spiritist center in South Florida. So on my site, nwspiritism.com, there is a site that says meetings. There's a tab that says meeting right on the top. And you can click that tab that says meetings. And there will also, if you go down there, you can there's a point where you can click where it tells you the Spiritist centers throughout the United States. And you can go to your state. It will take you to a Spiritist website. You can click on your state and you can find your city within that state, and you can find a Spiritist center. So there, for anyone who's interested, please look that up. You can also, as I here, is go to spiritiststudy.org, and if you don't have a Spiritist center in your local area, you can go to spiritismstudy.org, and you can set up an appointment with Sergio, who I think is in Florida, or myself, and we can meet with you. We can set you up on, we can talk to you on WhatsApp or Skype, and we can go over your questions on Spiritism. We'd be happy to do that. So these are some resources. But yes, there are lists. Go to my site, nwspiritism.com, and also I have all my books on the right-hand navigation page. I have The Problem is the Solution. Is the Solution I'm talking about now. I have my books of 3, Heaven and Below, Spirits in the Spirit Universe, and How We Are Guided by Spirits. So those are all there for anyone's interested, as kind of a quick little information in the middle of what I'm talking about as stress. So I hope that helps. Now, I talk about stress. So how do we reduce stress, and how do we learn a valuable lesson? Well, first, we have some water. First, we must know that we are immortal. And that should give us an infinite amount of patience, right? Well, unfortunately, while we can grasp the concept of living forever, our emotions desire closure for loose ends and looming obstacles in real time. Being faced with paying the rent or having to live in your car or on the street demands immediate attention, or do they? If we take the logical extensions of eternity and we only take with us our updated character after our time on earth, then the circumstances of our life becomes less pronounced. Therefore, our thinking should be, living in my car, yeah, I can do it. It will be a hassle and inconvenient, but not the end of the world. After all, this episode must compromise a portion of a trial I require, and I will strive to learn what I can, knowing that whatever could occur will be temporary and soon will be over. Now, of course, again, these are easy words to say and hard to put in practice. There's this interesting from one of Kardec's magazines. And these two people had met this woman. She was a street woman on the streets, couldn't read or write. And they said, okay, let's talk to her. They talked to her, and they put her under hypnotism. That was back in the 1850s. That got to be very important, popular, I guess is the word. They brought her back to her previous life. She was a princess who, of course, treated people pretty badly. And she started speaking, I forgot what language, maybe it was German or Dutch. And of course, she didn't know that language at all. But, and she said, yeah, I'm here. And it was her spirit talking, right? Her spirit brain was channeling through her physical brain. Because, yeah, I'm here because I have to learn a lesson. Her spirit knew she signed up for this. She says, yeah, this is not easy, but I'm learning a lesson. I was proud. I was not humble. I took advantage of people. And now I'm on this life to teach me something else. So this is what we have to get used to, right? It's not easy. We have to look at our life over a long arc with a higher purpose than to accumulate earthly goods and living in luxury, right? That's not important. The higher purpose is to improve ourselves, improve our character and personality. And this is not easy, because when I say improve your character and personality, I don't mean just keeping your mouth shut and saying only things that are polite and nice. No, I'm talking about your whole thought processes. And to change your thought process takes practice over and over and over again. I've been doing this for years. I'm still not where I want to be. I've gotten better, but I'm still not anywhere I want to be. But it might. But the effect of stress is already dramatic. I'm living with less. I don't care. Things I don't have, I don't have. Right? Before I was, I want that new car. I want this, right? And I would think how I could get that. But that's not important to me anymore. So it's difficult. And we need a lot of patience, lots of patience. And we need fortitude to wait for something that may not come in this life because it wasn't meant to be, but it will come. And, and in the book, Spiritual Wisdom, Missives of Hope, the spirit world addresses our need to patiently wait for the end of our trials. This is what they say. How many times you ask for guidance in the experiences of life? You frequently appeal to the spirituality, weighed down by afflictions and disappointments, as if crushed by stones of despair. However, on most occasions, the divine remedy to overcome such concerns is already enriching your experiences in life. Who among us ignores the imperative need for patience during the unsettling circumstances that assault us in our evolutionary journeys? Such a simple recommendation this is. One would object that this reminder expresses nothing else but the obvious, so preordained to everyone in our evolution as the humdrum of daily life itself. However, that which is evident is not always the easiest to accomplish. The practice of good is an indispensable light in the pursuit of happiness. We all know that. Nevertheless, who among us can kindle it without effort? Spontaneous assistance to others is a safe foundation. That is irrefutable. Yet how long will we spend on the complete learning of such message? In every obstacle to conquer and in all shadows to extinguish, let us engage patience in the service of the heart. Patience applied to tolerance and understanding in all the trials and struggles that the world presents to us. Progress may follow the avenues of intelligence on earth when it comes to the material nature of our realizations. However, without the lubricant of patience and the machinery of our relationships with each other, the speed in the physical world will frequently do nothing but dry out the gears of life, precipitating us rather often towards instability or disaster, fatigue or perturbation. If you aspire to find safe directives that may guarantee stability to your home or social group, if you aim at being the most efficient at the work entrusted to you, if you really want to support your beloved ones, and if you effectively want to live with tranquility and produce abundantly, cultivate patience during trials, during moments of tribulations and problems that occur on your path, whatever they are. For it is only through the constant exercise of patience that we find within us a peaceful territory in which we'll edify the everlasting kingdom of love. So, the message is cultivate patience, right? That doesn't mean that we need to be pushovers and meekly accept all misfortune, right? No, because part of the trials of living through the down times is the amount of effort we commit to climbing out of it. If you live in a car, do not accept that it will be like this forever. Of course not. You will find work, you ask for help, you utilize every legal and moral method available to help your situation. Patience equates to calmness under fire, the ability not to lose your head, not to blame others for your predicament, especially in this culture where everyone says, I'm the victim, I blame everyone for my life. No, spirit world doesn't accept that. You were put in the class, the race, the culture, the country, the parents, the wife, husband, whatever. You were put in that family for a reason. Don't blame other people. No, deal with it. You were put here on earth to deal with the problems. These problems were set to you for your own good, right? The spirit world doesn't punish you. It doesn't punish you. It educates you. How many times in school did you go, oh, teachers give me more homework, I'm being punished? No, teacher's not punishing you. They're trying to teach you something. Of course, as a kid, you resist. Who didn't, right? I did. As an adult, we resist too. So at least we're consistent in that. We're human. And that's why, we've got to get better. There's a story in the book Life Beyond the Veil, where a team of high spirits are sent on a mission to escort a large number of spirits who have been forced into slavery to work mines in the lower zone. Now, the story is an example of how to keep your calm and cool and patience, even when everything is about you, right? You've got this is patience, this is calmness under fire. So the spirituality had decided that this group had served their time, and they were working in mines in the lower zone. Yeah, there's mines, there's industry, there's cities in the lower zone, not led by nice people. And they were ready to be brought out and led to a higher level so they could start learning how to correctly behave. So the team freed the lower spirits and told them to gather in the main square of the city. Now, the Lord on that city, who was not a nice person, he said, okay, you can do that, because he knew he was outpowered. He said, but would you like to wait in my castle? Right? And of course, poorly built. And they said, okay, yes, you can wait in the castle until everyone's into the square. So, but the Lord of the town, who thought he was, superior, right? He was smarter. He believed he could trap the high spirits. He knew he couldn't confront them openly. There's no contest in that. So the misshapen Lord, right, as these people look as they are, they brought him into a room and told him he would return. And then the evil Lord went to his comrades in arms and told them he had put the spirits from the higher plane into prison. And while this was occurring, the spirits who were in the room together, quickly they grasped the situation. And with a slight smile at such an obvious trick, what did they do? Well, when you're a high spirit, you're more energy than matter. They just dematerialized themselves. They made themselves more energy than matter, and they just walked right through the stone walls. There's nothing. There's no apprehension. There's no gnashing of teeth. There's no shock at the event. Oh my God, we're in prison. No, only a calm appraisal of the circumstance and a quick plan to remedy the plight. Now, when the low Lord brought his gathering to witness the fruits of his brilliant plan, he opened the door and goes, it was empty. And of course, as a consequence, and this is how it is in the lower zone, because you are with people who are like you, all of his followers laughed at him for being so stupid. That's the lower zone, right? Pity and caring are absent, replaced by unfeeling sarcasm and disdain for all. In the land where only the worst of the worst rise to the top, one would expect nothing else. So what is the moral of the story? Consistency of behavior, whether in collaboration with others in a tranquil environment or in the heat of battle. The approach, a reasonable, measured, and focused solution to the problem, is what we're being taught in our chaotic and threat-filled lives on Earth. Make no mistake, our training is intense and difficult, and the more we try to skirt the lesson, the intensity increases to force us to face what we have tried to ignore. This is why you need to open your eyes and go, okay, I'll learn from this, right? If you've had a string of bad marriages, right, or relationships, or whatever, think, okay, okay, everything they did to me, that must have been what I had done to others. I must have done the same thing to others. And if this happened over and over again, I must have done that over and over again in previous lives. I'm not going to be that way. Hey, okay, if they leave me and they try to cheat me or whatever, I'll just say, hey, I forgive you. We'll go we'll go our own way. You don't have to talk to them again. You don't have to love them or forgive them, right? You can just love them from afar, love them for being a human soul who's on their way, and understand that they're not there. They're going through their own trials. They will learn the hard way of what they did wrong. They will go. They'll be they'll be taught too. You don't have to attack them or get revenge. That's completely unnecessary. The more you understand karma and reincarnation, you understand spiritism. You don't have to be the judge and jury. That's all taken out of your hands by vastly superior intelligence beings, high spirits. So you just worry about yourself. When they make mistakes, they were just used as an actor in the play you happen to be in. So now, how do you prepare yourself for trials? To gain patience and coolness under fire. So first, you have to be at peace with yourself. You have to be solid enough inside to withstand the waves of emotions and disappointments that our life throws at us. Now, again, I'm quoting a lot from the book Spiritual Wisdom, Missives of Hope, and it's in this topic, but it's a good book for a lot of this information. Yes, we are told how we may fortify ourselves. This is what they say. For though there are those who wonder how they may serve the cause for peace, would not such a task be reserved to those in charge of the world's direction? However, peace in the world is a result of all the individual struggles in the realm of pacification. Let us reflect in it and fulfill our duties as well as we can. Release the source of love from your heart. Awaken upright thoughts in your brain. Transform the work of each day into a hymn of blessings. Attend to the commitments avowed by the laws of your own conscience. March down the pathway of goodness towards others. Have respect for the existence that others you have chosen for themselves to the same extent that you wish your own life to be respected. Erect within you a barrier against destructive criticism. Hospitalize aggressors and slanderers in your clinic of prayers. Do not squander the wealth of time in acquiring remorse through useless complaints. Don the armor of patience so you may be able to act and react constructively wherever you are. Employ the good word in the verbal structures with which you express yourself. Listen attentively, waiting without haste for your turn to speak. Do not disregard anyone. Protect yourself from the obstacles and problems that displease you through a recollection of prayers in order to avoid standing out on the path of others as a result of your afflictions. Accept others the way they are, without aiming at correcting or improving them forcibly. Good lesson there. Learn with humility and teach without demands. Assist without collecting for it. Do not solemnize the trials you require for improving your own path. Immunize yourself with the therapy of forgiveness when facing an offense. Wait for the propitious moment intended to clarify a difficult issue that may have emerged in our relationship with others. Do not demand from others what they do not yet possess to contribute. Do not mentalize evil with imaginary restlessness, but rather to collaborate in the construction of the best that must happen. Serve without fashioning shackles to the wrists of your brothers and sisters. And as you push on, you will become a pillar of strength for general safety. In truth, heavenly providence does not ask you to transform yourself into a bright light all at once, dispelling the shadows of perturbation wherever they prevail on earth. Rather, Heaven expects you to be already today, wherever you are, a living retreat of peace. Now, what are they telling us? The message is pretty simple. Be what you have always wanted to be, but have never achieved. Actually, I'm sure some of you have attained the inner fortitude to be a beacon of light for those in need. But take a moment and reread and re-listen and replay this and determine if you come close or still have a long ways to go for each nugget of advice that was just given to you. Look at yourself in a harsh light and truly set your score. Then write down the ones you have to work on. Look at the list every morning and try to adhere to the directives, right? Become a pillar of strength. Don't gossip. Let others be as they are. Have patience with others. Gauge your performance at the end of the day, every day. Try for small incremental victories. Believe me, I know it's not easy. When I decided, okay, I'm going to stop malicious gossip at work, and isn't that everyone's practically favorite game, right? Is to tell how everyone else isn't as smart as you are. And of course, when you stop playing that, it's like you're not part of that crowd anymore. It's very difficult. But people respect you for that. I remember when I said something about someone, I said, I don't think they're up to it. And this one manager, when I heard this, secondhand, talking to another manager, goes, well, Brian never says anything bad about anybody. So that must be true, right? It was like you have instant credibility. When you keep your mouth shut, you don't say bad things. But then there was something about somebody said, no, I don't think that person is right for the job. I didn't say anything bad about it, but I at least I don't recall. Hopefully I didn't. But I just said, no, I don't think that person is a fit, right? And it was like, oh, okay. And that person, was put somewhere else. It was better for them too. But it's like, you may seem that you're hobbling yourself, but you really aren't in the long run. And remember, any sacrifice you make here on earth to improve yourself and help others will be repaid 100-fold in the spirit world. What you can do by changing and molding your character, by following your conscience, right? That conscience should be filtering everything you decide. If you talk about stress for a second, if you make a decision, you go, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then like you feel uneasy inside. It's like, no, it's not right. Even though, and I know, of course, how easy it is to rationalize these things where I want to do that because it's going to help me, but I don't feel good about it. And if you don't feel good about it, don't do it, right? Or get out of the situation as nicely as you are able to. Sometimes it's hard, right? But get out of that situation nicely as you can. So those are things that start. Just listen to yourself, listen to your body. Don't be discouraged with setbacks. I have them all the time. But once you really start on this, you'll be surprised how quickly you will start to feel differently. It will change your life. It will be very important to you. Now, I have written a book on how to help you achieve this. And I think that this could help a lot of people. And it's based on, it was actually in the book, Mistress of Hope. It was a poem by Henri Louis, 24 verses. And each one was how to live, right? And each one was a verse like industrious patience, just like as they talked about on other spirits and other books, right? Supreme conscience, helping others, serving others, all of these things. And what I do is I go through what was meant by that short 5 or 6 word stanza, what the spirit world means by that, and then how do we achieve that state. Now you can find all the links to my books down here not on the Facebook, but on YouTube or the BitChute channel. You can also find my books on nwspiritism.com. I have many books on different subjects. I have my, as I said before, what I think is, if you want to understand more about the spirit world, to motivate yourself, what's waiting for you, what the powers of the spirits, how you're guided by spirits, read my series of 3 books. And it starts with Heaven and Below, which all talks about different levels of heaven, the umbra or lower zone. Then How We Are Guided by Spirits, which is all about the attributes of spirits. This is what's gonna be when you are there. And then The third book of the series is How We Are Guided by Spirits, the Spirit World Revealed to an Anglican Vicar. And there's a lot of good literature in spiritual literature by the mediums in Brazil and other places, but the information given to us from the Reverend G. Val Owen in the early 20th century in England, to me, has exposed the higher realms of heaven more than any other literature I have read. It is revelatory. It tells you how heaven is multiple levels, and they hint at that in the books by Andre Louise, where they say, well, Andre Louise says, yeah, your mother's at a higher level. This one really goes, what are the levels? What are the purposes of the level? How do you graduate from one level to another? Right? When Andre Louise talks to his mother, he goes, well, it's not heaven like you think it is, where I don't do anything. I work hard. Well, yes, these books reveal how hard she's working. As as Jesus, to those who are given, more is expected, to paraphrase that. And this is the same in the spirit world. And you don't have to go up. You have free will. You can stay parked at the no solar level as long as you want. But as you go up, you go through learning, you go through classes. He even talks about the classes. And when you rise from one level to the next, you are actually given more power, more energy, more tools in your toolbox. So this should be very interesting for you. And I hope this helps. And I want to say God bless everyone. Have a good night. Remember, we are on Kardec Radio. We are on Kardec Radio every Sunday night from 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And we are all around the world. I want to tell everyone, please share this video on Facebook site. Tell your friends to subscribe on YouTube or BitChute. Share those, comment. Sign up to spiritismstudy.org any way we can to help other people. That's what we need to do. So I want to tell everyone again, lastly, good night, and I will see you next week. And also remember, I have live streaming on Wednesday nights on my Facebook site, Spiritism and the Spirit World Around Us. God bless.